Um, I do just Stop. No, 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 no. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Then, then, it's a sex ed. Do you got a new one? No, that's it. That's it. Well, I'll tell you in a minute. We've got. I don't think you. I won't. But that section might be nice to people know. I, I think more of it kind of you know, so, you know, let me see. Although if you can questions, I can figure out. I think that people are the statements in the element of the video. Well, you can see that. So I think from like it's what you want to say? I thought we then like no, it's so what time is very specific. But what the thing is at the end of it, as you can say, any kind of things, right? So anyone has a kind of different we can ask them the questions, and anyone at a time because I've got the questions going to go back to my booth.
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody, places.
Right.
You get back to it with that, and that's the Oh, my French is over there.
Yeah. Questions right now. Well, you're up first.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I'm taking
No, if we're gonna take the
Ready?
Give me a second.
Better be home.
exactly. Love it.
Stop.
Oh,
No, I don't need to all that problems. That's all. Yeah. So, I feel. Some is desensitization. You often regret to for the most happens.
so the way that seven runner is real stuff with
Did you use the mic on the first chair, please?
yeah, of course. Alright, so we're going to go over these, start with BT education questions, then we'll move on to union president, then sports president, and then we'll end on VP comms. So I will do president and VP comms, Robbie will do education, and Melissa will do sports. The way it's going to go is we're going to start with one question to sort of get an idea of everyone's personality. So it'll be one silly question that we'll ask to every candidate, just more about you as a person so people can get to know you. Then, after that, there'll be two questions tailored to each of your manifestos. So anything that we maybe feel you could have explained better or wondering how you'd achieve in practice, it's questions about it. And on the PowerPoint you see here, there'll be QR codes on every slide, and this will be for audience questions. So what will happen there is after each section, there'll be two audience questions that we'll take from the QR codes, and so we'll ask those to the candidates, and then we will take the rest of the questions, any that are left over, and we will leave them at the end. Most of the candidates or anybody else has to leave. What we can do is we can forward the questions if the candidate's not still here, so they can still answer your questions after that. So let's continue for the first.
Fair dues. You talk with each other time too much. Don't use any profanity, swearing. If you're not okay with having to take these tests on your individual live streams, and oh yeah, and if you go on for too long, you can tell you to wrap up. But good. What is going on?
So both opens at 10 a.m. on the 24th and it closes on the 26th of February. Okay, so we're going to start with the BP education section. So if all BP education candidates can come up, Robbie will take this section. Yeah, I'll grab a place.
Yeah, just not more. Just set a lady there. So it's leaving a star. Okay, what's the education law and details? What do you want to do?
My name is Katie. I'm a history and geography. My name is Miranda, and I am doing a in education. My name is Martine, and I'm a fourth year psychology student.
Oh, I see that. And we'll start off with so, have you campaign with someone question with you around your target?
Campaign song. What's the song? A campaign song. Probably, whatever. Your minimum is Bridge, sorry, lava. So, this is finding in relation to my campaign, just seeing some other people, and I really love it. All I do is man. Very, really fight song.
Okay. So, well, I'll start with you. And how do you kind of constancy of independency? And what you need to protect students' needs, confidence, and that.
So, we want to demand transparency in our local asking for more students to be studying.
So, exactly.
What was the second part?
There's a competition of what you intend to protect students' needs.
We would really like to form a student-led academic that would be something that I can definitely can do within a year. And actually studying student-led, it would opportunities for students to sit in meetings where decisions are being made.
What do you keep is class and clear and in place? It's concept.
It's a very different show. It's extremely daunting. No one was good at doing house. Very daunting community. This is a issue that this is a massive issue. The students need to be called about conversations so they get the capacity to play here. So they can have awareness goals like that. Working with students to produce guidelines that always like say is not stands like this situation.
Okay. Um, okay, Martin, can you ensure learning opportunities across these faculties?
So currently I'm actually doing at the workplace and I recruit you randomly on a lot of the last couple of months. So what I'm going to do is look at any opportunity to get external funding because I know that's an issue. So whether that's giving you opportunities through a course and then finding external opportunities we can promote to students at university we might have, as well as involving workplace learning more opportunity as well.
Thank you very much. Great. We'll go back to that's good. How do you facilitate to the best and how you're funding this?
So, one of the things that I think we're really on is better mental health support. So definitely including advocacy training, and advocacy is such a broad topic that it would be student chosen themed advocacy trainings. So I would not be choosing it; it would be led by students. And the academic reps so would be more focused on which department they're working. So it would be more applicable to directly to the skills ability question.
Okay, thank you. And Casey, how will you improve the existing applicant feedback safely leader and assist the students?
So when we got rid of things that you read the feedback policy, it was absolutely amazing. But from speaking to students, this is far from reality. The feedback is awful. We don't get it on time, it's not clear. So to make this actually reflective, it needs to be led by students. I want students to have a voice and a review of this academic policy and make sure it's being upheld. And if it isn't being upheld, amend it so it works both for students and staff. So see what the inconsistencies are, see who's not plausible, and come up with a solution with staff and students.
Thank you. Martine, last question for you. Intellect is how you learn student voice in academic decision.
So what I usually want to do is I want to make a manager for the university to have consult with a certain number of students. Because I quite like to say we did ask students, but it never tells them how many or who they actually talk to. So the way I would do it is to create a policy where it says you must have consult with students a certain amount in these divisions, in these faculties before you can implement any change. And this has to happen prior to the decision making.
PolSoc system. Use one instruction to two questions, both was asking. The QR code. Or the QR code.
Yeah, the QR code up there on the screen for anybody who wants to ask questions, that'll take you to a form where you can write a question and then you can ask. Hold on, I need to put on some part of this today. I think you're listening. Can I actually work on this? So testing. We're going to see to service. Yes. It's doing stuff like that. We never engage us. It's found it. Set on there. It's not just something. I see us. Pretty fair. And then like, we're trying to provide the other grades. Just scales. Like with police. What problems to it? I want to add one. So normally I would need to go on. But it's just Please say first memory for those who attend this team, which is it's like yeah. Second question was which was no, yeah, I was just yes. So it's question. It's like talking to the boss for the so
Alright guys, well, I totally guys was the whole done. And that's how it seems. Okay, that's the whole. I will ensure your support staff strategies to assessing students who have to get in the trouble. Of course, he's always
I think I will start with students. We'll see you guys on the students test. So just to support students and community communication. we had a big issue over what's happened with the seventh scheme that we had with communication, and I know academic reps are demanding that. So I think it's that communication line between students and staff that I would really appreciate. So I think we could work with the staff doing an incredible job and maybe really do to get to start to get paid for what they are doing. For staff, for them, I think it works both ways. I think we need to show our appreciation for staff and recognize the work they're doing. It's coming back to mental health scheme that sometimes it's not always going to be 100% and we need to be in other ways to make sure it's actually doable. I think openness and transparency, hopefully on the same lines of communication, making sure that there's a good feedback loop. Because later we know about things that we're going to be affected. So I think the best way forward would be to make sure that staff letting students know what ways to get affected, especially ones who don't like this stuff, those who have lectures are going to be affected as soon as possible, and students can share their support, and their opinion. I think articles about their language around certain languages. So maybe communicated to thousands of students when certain people will be leaving and the plans will come. And giving people that community channel works in ways, the challenge of this about very unique key points in making sure that our feel supported and seen.
And benefit Stirling works with take the and
Okay.
yeah.
My class I is
Yeah.
you just be don't forget us to just be there for us.
Oh, that's nice, sure.
Yeah.
Oh. And we only ever see your appearance then at open marks today that push your seasons.
So stadium engineering is an excellent thing that's happening there. But there's not a lot going on in the sense of getting out to students. We are doing really well with the academic reps, asking them to give it out ways to promoting it. That's going really well. I think we are forgetting that we could use it in different ways. So I think stadium engineering would be really good if we could use the feedback. So a review service that will be offered towards volunteers so that there's an opportunity for recognizing to get something like transfer opportunity for student mentoring. I think linking together PGRs, contract research, students who are underutilized would be a great liaison with the student mentoring because even in my MC, I don't really have a lot of involvement with student mentoring. But having peer-assisted learning sessions would be really great. I definitely think there's room for improvement in the social science area for that. So I think adding in teachers who need teaching experience or proofreading would be an excellent choice to use their skills to help people build their skills. And how does your mentoring as the main concept? And I remember it's during my first year meeting, was there that kind of stopped off, amazing jobs here, there around backup running. Don't you want to see that program more integrated into your actual courses, especially in the first year students? So, for example, inside the gym, they just consider from the communities, and it's also student-led teaching. So, I believe that integrating more courses and getting more lectures involved in students would further make it more later like it should be.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. So,
Use friendly outlets, please.
I guess there's that was trying to focus on you going briefly for the ones which instance. That's like, yeah, that's it. That's one. It's there's two. Absolutely. That's fine. Pressurized, right? Try again against the okay, so I think I'll say it's not. Yes. Okay, well, this is a bit. That's Stanley.
Much better again, guys. So, as the education goes on, the question now is what has been your most embarrassing moment in university, nutrition solitude, and those well, I thought students that many one thing. Yeah. I was probably the same, but it is. Right, Ellie, you most fun on session. I'm not going to say so, but I feel like I have my few embarrassing moments to choose from. Um, I think my most embarrassing story was one time in first year when I was coming back from the barn. I lived in campus, and I came back by myself and I walked past the campus and I saw her lived here. And I got in and I told my mom, I just heard the deer in campus, and none of them believed me. They did not believe that there were deer on campus. So until like 7 months later, when the deer appeared next to your window, and then I realized that I was doubting myself as well. So I didn't see her. And I yelled, "Oh, I imagine seeing it."
Yeah, well, embarrassing one. What can I say? Actually, happened in last months before. So when I was all learning to this modern living as an actual guy, every class was in tour. Then our class was shifted into the contract. I was like searching for this location of my class again and again. The class, I was lost for 40 minutes. Still, I was not able to find the class. Then one of the undergrads was so kind of you. She just went and then asked her, is it the class? Can you locate the class? And then she told me, help with the maze lab. No, I have been roaming with the maze lab for like 15 minutes. And then she was like, oh, sorry. No, then she helped me to get into the class. And then I was like, feeling so relaxed. And the unfortunate situation was after 5 minutes, the class got
It's always done that. It's surprising amount of people are born on the set of How do you plan to secure funding more accessible accommodation considering current university? So part of my county plan is actually so I'm meeting with accommodation hopefully soon just to ask what funding is available. And if that doesn't work, then it will be probably a post later campaign to go away and council. Alright, Kelly. How will you persuade deputy principals and the vice chancellor to attend regular town meetings? I think I will begin to persuade them by building on a relationship. I've been building with them over the last year and regularly attending meetings with them. You do get to build a working relationship with them. I've worked with their principal and different deputy principals on different issues and areas already. And I'm building this working relationship. And I think with more student feedback, some more persuasion skills, which I have been working along the past year. So get into the sense. Here. Alright, Trish. How will you convince the university to make food prices more affordable? I think if we have a full breakdown of like how much it costs to make that one like item, so if we could have a breakdown of like how much it costs to make a bacon roll or a burger, and then adjusting it to being like 10 or 20p above that,
because it honestly doesn't really cost much to make one individual item. So it shouldn't cost like nearly double the price for a student to buy it. So I think if you have a visibility like budget, you could then reduce the prices, as well as if like the students lobby together. I feel like that will also that pressure from like us will then pressure the university to eventually hopefully give in and like reduce prices.
I can that's
Yeah.
in your manifesto, you frequently mention improving communications with students. How do you intend to do this, and how will you approach this differently to the ways the community and the university currently communicate information?
So what I think is, I want you the most friendly approach to yourself if I want to be listener. So I want to make kind of a regular session with those students or like monthly basis or so that they can talk about the issues if it's related to the morning or anything which is like not more happening or anything, a personal thing or anything that would be flexible to share with me because I have what I do in the campaign also. I just go to the person, I just talk to them rather than just talking into the group. I know it takes a lot of time to get into the people's, but what I have learned from them is like 80% face-to-face talk is always better than talking into a situation of less privacy or good manner. So I would always connect this session to be as a mandatory so that they can know what has happened because we ran by the students. So it is the students union. So it has to be from the students and to the students. Thank you.
Great. Trish, how would a wellness check survey work in practice, and how would this differ from the support the university already offers?
So my plan with that would be so every like at the start of every semester, or even at the start and the end of every semester, we would send out an email, or at least student services will send out an email, and students will have the opportunity to either fill the survey out or just leave it. Because I know a lot of us we do just kind of ignore the emails we get from the uni, but at least like it's there for the student to then like fill out, and then obviously we'll have a team go through responses if we get responses. And then from that, we will then reach out to like said students. Because at least then we know that a student can get the help they need. So that would be my plan. Yeah.
You like to know this is coming. How will you ensure that at least one community member of each society takes part in mental health benefit training, and how do you plan to follow this?
So last year we worked with Jordan and we worked with the NHS for traveling to get making them first aid um to get people trained in making them first aid. Unfortunately I wasn't able to attend but I really wish I was. But from what I've heard from the feedback it was a really good session. But every training day they do record attendance. So I'll try and monitor if that makes sense the attendance and make sure that at least one person from each committee is part of it because I think it would be really beneficial to students if someone has some sort of training because a lot of the issue technically is you don't really want to talk to your pals or your family because you don't want to feel like a burden to anyone else. So one person that maybe you don't know so well was almost like a role model to be able to go talk to would be really valuable.
Thank you. And us. How do you plan to create more on-campus jobs with the internships?
Of course, what I have decided for that would be talking to the stakeholders. So to get to find the people that who has searching for the people who they want to hire. So what I will do in that matter is like I want the number of students who are interested to get into the job and then the sector which they wanted to get
Is it for part-time job, it's a different category. For full-time job, it's actually a different category. But we cannot do expect a sector, especially for the part-time job. But we can what we specify would be for the full-time job because everyone has their own interest and then has their own domain to be placed for it. So I would just get rather than gather the students who wanted the job, who is like very much interested, and then match them with the stakeholders. And then after matching this, we will additionally have a team working on this, and then I would make an meet up with them so that they can talk to the person whom they want. I'm talking about the stakeholders, and then the desired students who wanted to get into the job. And I will also make campaign, see how they want to reach out to them, what they expect, what the like what do you think would be required for the criteria. So the trial might be we can just give some counseling something like that, so that they will reach out with the job market. That's what eventually everyone will get. Yeah, correct. We have actually very good creating as well, but additionally, we will be boost up some things with them. The additional things which will be with the help of creativity that will make a difference. We can make a difference.
So, you mentioned online programs for community campaigns. So the ways of this communities which are very aware. So if elected, what do you plan to do differently from last year? And do you plan to effectively communicate your progress to the students?
So I'll take the first part of the question first. What would I do differently? I think what I've done for the last year, we know it works, but there's not a lid on this. I would do differently. I would make it more on a national scale. So I've been working already with staff officers around the country on different campaigns that have been coordinated primarily by INGS, which is National Union of Students, and INGS Scotland, National Union of Students in Scotland. I would work on a wider scale to take the work and experience that I've honed over the last year to put that over for a more national level. For example, just now, NUS UK have a campaign going to Parliament to make misogyny legally registered as a hate crime, something that's gone through Parliament before and not passed. I think if I would like to take it another year, I could be the one to successfully push it through, working in cooperation with NUS UK and the fellow staffs around the country as well. And can you repeat the second part of the question? To effectively communicate progress to students, I would use areas like the quality zone. I would use LinkedIn, which is very up and coming, Instagram as well, bulletin, but also establishing regular feedback sessions, accountability sessions, and services.
Thank you very much for that. And I'd like to open the questions for you. Questions. If anybody has anything, the QR code to ask any of the candidates, you can select specific ones or you can ask them to all of them. So if you want to do that, please do that. Yeah, you should just learn how to do yours. I mean, you know, my dad, honestly, I'm not gonna. It's on subjects. We elected this the class. So I'm sick of them saying the word. You know, me doesn't even. I feel like if I sign this was used to me. It's not a big case.
Here we go again. That's for my kind of this probably ended the kind so at least all done to run out of the regular until you see the so the work you're to but that's our favorite one for this not starting with it's what I'm more to listen. You know, that's really quite good. That's it. I think it's and it goes relax. I know it's not good for God.
So yeah, I think it should be like slightly higher than those that are like under there, but not as high as it has been. Like nearly like 500,000 is ridiculous. And especially when you're doing but even if it's 20 years, it's a long duration. Or at least during my time here, I've not really seen him besides graduation. So it needs to fit like the actual role that he does, rather than the occasional like rather than having for the occasional favors.
Our laundries, cleans, ovens, good lesson. Yeah. Oh, that's quite solid enough, right? So semi manifesto that I support the policy having a 10 to 1 pay ratio, which means that the highest paid individual at a university cannot earn more than 10 times the lowest paid individual at the university. One thing I realized last year, very, very early on when I was in four, is that for the last year, Jerry could make my year's story in 8 days of work. And that was shocking to me, so I couldn't support policy with 10 to 1 pay ratio. It's permanently so.
So I know like a little bit more than one who's sure.
Next question, we'll go back to you. How will you address racism in house?
Yeah, I was because Asian. So it's actually student coming with the applications of having fit environment. So I would just talk to him and then speak to the situation whether he has this kind of situation or make sure more clear whether he has been affected or is it like a misunderstanding or something. Then if the reasons are such new, I would address it more strictly and then I would also speak to who has did treating him or her. So I just then talk to both the person. I just sorting out more in a personal situation. So because animation is very something which is strong, but it is not going to affect someone's life or their student. It's both of them students anyway. So if it is a student, I would just talk to them and then I would make a change in both of them so that they would be befriended and then we can make a result in this manner, like friends all together and then the movement of is all to be like are going to be friends, we all are together. And that is very awareness in our university as well. But we are the major influence. So that's what would be my point. Rather than being so strict, I will be strict while talking to them, but I will not make anything which is like punishing or something like that.
I think this is a really good question and something that needs statements because we have seen there was some discrimination, not just in Stirling and not just in Scotland in our country. We've seen this with the rise of the Robinson protests in Colbert in London and it's part of this. I will like 100% zero tolerance to racism. Something that I worked closely with my posters in the UK and installments to try and tackle. It needs to be a strong stance taken against them, and that was something that I would advocate for 100% in my kind of collective, taking an absolute zero tolerance approach because that has no place in our campus. And I will do this through as per my manifesto working with the university to highlight and spotlight our international student, our incredibly diverse community, our incredible student community, and working against harmful proposals laid out in an immigration white paper, the Justified Time paper, which has caused issues for international students.
Okay.
So yeah, similar to earlier, I have master's zero forwards for sure. I think it's some that was 2026. It shouldn't be happening, but it still is, and it's still a massive issue. I see it all the time, working markets in the town. So if you know stuff that happens there, it should be happening. Yeah, and when I said I was even towards the close to it, it just yeah, but equally I also think it's very important that people get educated in their religions and cultures, which is why I think only against for immigrants idea and helps create that sense of community. So
Yeah, similarly to Ellie and the zero tolerance approach, although I do also think it should limit the student that has been reported for being racist, there should be investigations, studies suspended, and then it should be assessed whether or not if it happened during their time at the university. As lots of students here, we do represent the university, so if it's happened during that time, I do feel like they should be dismissed from their studies and that they're not shouldn't be a part of our community. However, if it has happened with to come into uni, I do feel like the students should have a chance to apologise for their actions and to redeem themselves because, prior to coming to uni, we are young, we do make mistakes, and I don't feel, especially in the age where like technology is constantly changing, I know when I was younger, I wasn't fully like told about digital footprint, but it is a thing. So I feel like if it happened prior to coming to the university, then and whilst they were younger, they should have that chance to redeem themselves and to apologise for their actions. However, if it does happen whilst they're a student at the university, that they shouldn't be a part of the community and it should be approached with civil tolerance.
Thank you very much. Right, we have one last question for all of you. Well, Ellie, how will you address rising costs for students with the help of making research costs?
of course, all of us really can see as possible in the next us and it really, really does. And back to what I was saying today, Hustings on Tuesday, what I'm focusing on my next was communication. That we do have a very large, mainly untouched called hardship funds for students to access. Now, I was doing some research into this and realised that there are several barriers to the hardship funds. It can be really, really difficult for students to get access to it, to feel like they are entitled to it, and to just ask for it. Or even know it exists. So I think breaking down barriers to hardship support, to life support, well-being support, budgeting support, all these things, there needs to be more honest to how accessible they are, creating the more accessible, will always standing by our mandate of arguing for no rent increases, no food increases to costs, and alongside making just more widely available and accessible.
Can you just repeat that?
Yeah, of course. And how will you address rising costs for students alongside the LGBT communities?
So half is like related
The next thing,
to reduce the cost of living.
so reduce the how you will respond to the rise.
That respond to the right.
Yeah, your response. Yeah.
So actually, there's a mixed story. So which has done its part in helping the students if they are in any reasons also not living. But actually, what I feel I want to address is to reduce the placement of 14% which is happening in the students' accommodation. I believe the president is as the public, even during the crisis, reduce or increase at least if possible what reduce. So that is eventually release one part of this process. This like accommodation that is being reduced, and then we can dissolve the student dissolve in the surrounding of in the surrounding of the unique so that it will be like helpful for the students to get good grades. They obviously need student discount everywhere, and we also have classes to student discount. And it is not even enough for people to get into accessibility of this. So then I would also go with the community groups which we are providing must be accessible to everyone so that they don't get stressed on the foods which they are getting. So obviously, if you are like doing cooking or like on a regular basis, you are just ordering more groceries as well. We have like community food system, so if it is like in a very good communicable time, people can get easy accessible.
Yes.
Could you repeat the question? Sorry.
So how would we respond to rising students in the health business?
So I think a lot of it is in my manifesto under my program vulnerability. But I think as well I would going back to the campaigns that have happened over the years is like help with lowering the cost of rent and a bit like I said, making like the help that is available more transparent because it's hard to find if you do need it and a lot of the time you do the criteria is quite like specific. So even if you do need it and you do qualify, a lot of the time you can look at it and already qualify for that. And so a lot of students will like go for it, but making sure that it's clear that it's there and to give them help as well with applying for it because it's not easy to apply for. There is a lot that like is required to apply for the grants. So that as well as I think that is what I would do.
Thank you. Me and Glenn,
Yeah. So I absolutely with what you were saying. I think there should be more information about funding that is available. And I think as in nutrition and based on there's definitely a lot of or you need to do when university like so it's campuses. Some of that is ridiculous. Like 5 pounds for some which like you used to be able to get a whole meeting for like things that were just so much. Yeah. So
thank you very much. Thank you all. That was fantastic. We appreciate it. All right, we're just gonna take a quick break now. Anybody who wants to chat or get drinks or anything like that. Then when we resume, we'll go on to what we're doing. See you.
Because allowing to feel more pressure. No, whatever else. Yes, I found it. Such different things. That's everything. Yes, so, yes. That was sad. That was very good. Experience, I know that that's the but it's it's not left. It's not only everything. Uh, keep it covered so that so more stuff. And I feel about selling some time with supervisor as a COVID. So,
How do you plan to facilitate workforce of collaborations and how do you plan for leaders to stay part of this?
so this is one of the things I spoke about in my best about implementing certain aspects of the start scale level on the sports union, but encouragement and enforcement.
I think one of the main things that discourages people from taking part is they don't really like some of the aspects of stir steel or they don't find it as accessible. So I'll probably, what I want to do is I want to sit down with all the presidents of clubs at the start of the year, go through stir scale, see what they like, see what they don't like, take things out, add new things in. And so that way everybody actually wants to take part in the aspects of stir.
Okay, great. What steps do you take to ensure the students are regularly updated on your courses?
So like I said, listening only matters if it leads to change. And too often promises are made without actually delivering. So instead of getting timely updates or sport rules or president's forums, which I will continue, I'll use the sports media Instagram page. I'll do a regular weekly rundown, right along video, say what I've learned, say the meetings I've had, what changes I've actually learned in careers.
Is there the questions for the audience first here. How will you work to specifically uplift smaller sports union clubs?
I do think smaller sports union clubs are the backbone of our sports union. Okay, not every club needs to be these big flashy winning teams that are plastered all over social media. I think it's the passion that you have just to take part in sports is what matters. At first, I want the advertising the key thing. I want people to see how fun all these clubs are. I want people to see that taking part in the club doesn't have to be stressful. You don't need to know the sport. You don't need to be extremely good at it. You just want to be there to be part of the community, get active, have some fun, make some good friends. So I'll be encouraging that throughout the sports union. It's just a place that you can come to go on.
Okay. Many of the sports clubs are incredibly male dominated. How do you encourage women's?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And a lot of the men's clubs that we have are very male dominated still. I think it's been built. Look at clubs like basketball, for example, it's a mixed club, and there's a female president who sit at the top of it. That can be quite hard. I think one of the biggest aspects of encouraging women to take part in sport is getting rid of that fear factor. For some, it's social aspect, for some, it's physical activity aspect. We need to just make sure that they know it's a safe place, no matter if it's a mixed gender sport or an individual gender sport. It's just a place that you can go to have fun and feel part of the community.
Okay. How do you plan to approach GBV in sports?
So now, being men's rugby president, I'm very aware that a few years ago, my club didn't have a better reputation when it came to that kind of thing. When I came to first year, it was very obvious that every leader within the club was striving to improve that and educate our lads. I think when it comes to GBV and the sports union community, it's like a weed you got to rip out of the roots. That starts from educating members of the club before getting it onto a wider space. So peer accountability is a big one for me. Every club has leaders, regardless of whether they're a committee leader or social that people look up to. Educating those lads to then pass it down and then bring it onto a wider scale. Use workshops, like Ribbon campaign this year. Education is the big thing and peer accountability.
Okay, amazing. How do you plan to include minorities and barriers to access, for example, trans and disabled students?
It's a very important topic. As we know, a lot of sports in our region do offer accessible routes, but most of them don't. More of the complex sports don't. For example, I'm a basketball team again, and we have an amazing athlete of a wheelchair basketball, but he has to go represent a different university because there's just no accessibility to bring in a large number of people that want to take part in the team. For all sports, you need different levels of performance, okay? Yes, sports have the high performing athletes, but all sport, at the core of it, sports is about the social aspect of enjoyment. And we need to make it accessible for all levels. rugby or wheelchair rugby, mixed gender sports, everything. You just need to make everything accessible and provide different platforms of performance. So,
Okay. Last question. What were your views on initiations and how would you tackle with happening on campus?
okay. Men's rugby, we all have bad reputation for that. Initiations do not have a place in our life. They should never be brought in. We want our members to feel welcome. We want our members to want to take part in our activities. At the end of the day, that's how we grow our clubs. It's how we make our sport union community. Tackle initiation, again, it comes from roots. It comes from your influential people within the clubs. You need to make sure that they are educated, have good morals, and if they don't, they need to be cut off and they need to be put in their places and educated about it. Because everybody should feel welcome, everybody should have a place to belong in their club.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That's all the questions that you got for you. So just you know, one of the statements that we got from the parent. So had a statement talks about how his role as part of the club's big small has he's worked on sustainability and enhancing student experience, and that's exactly what he wants to bring to the role of sports president. His role as a webinar ambassador gave him the chance to connect with this unique campus community and encourage students to have fun while doing good. His youth experience has been one of a kind, raising record funds and achieving spectacular participation levels. Having also created an environment that fosters success for everyone in the sports region, wants to improve access to sport, ensure the well-being of all students, and engage with clubs and students as much as possible. He also wants to highlight the hard work and dedication of everyone here at the university, and he wants to make sure student voices at the center of all discussions and serve the Stirling community with integrity. Power's campaign focuses on three key priorities. First one is strengthening collaboration across clubs. He feels that too often clubs operate in isolation or feel like they're competing for resources. His second point is increasing visibility and reaching students. Success of Stirling was different areas. For some it's skills, others it's rebuilding numbers, improving welfare, and creating inclusive spaces. Howard's third point is investing in student development and well-being. Sports should have human life, not he wants to introduce role-specific workshops focused on transferable skills, confidence, and managing things, helping students grow both during and beyond university. Harry is standing president because he believes in effective or strong community and genuine student voice. He's ready to lead Stirling sport with integrity, energy, and influence. I think you sent the questions to them. Okay. Please. Mr. Thomas, what do you I'm sorry. You have to tell.
Well, as you can see, Isadora sends her apologies and she sent a statement the same way in the sports community now. So we're gonna do the questions to you, and then I'll read out Isadora's statement so you can all hear what she wanted to say tonight, even though she couldn't. Yeah. So to start with the general question, if you were a TV show, which TV show would you be? And I start with you.
Question. Would you be bothered with the Simpsons? Great, yeah.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
You got that right.
Um, I think on this, maybe it's some around here. Just
Right. Then when you like to give this design any of those, you can also put them sheets. Now, some questions. How do you intend to end university zero tolerance policy for drug use?
so this is part of this is a really harmful policy. It means that students can get help with the help they need to get off drugs. I think this is a lot of lobbying that everyone has to do, a lot of talking to university management, persuading them. But also, I know that it is the role of unions and after officers to influence, to represent, and argue for student interests. Obviously, we're not in charge of university. Things that we cannot do university management just coverage to do and fight with students. So I will argue uh, I would also strongly argue for this. I'll do my best to persuade the person I know to do it, but that is just something I want to do, and it's not my power to do it. So if the university has the courage to do it, then it'll get done.
Grocery shortage, student voices were better active issues with facilities and reasons.
So I think it comes from decisions directly voicing students' concerns to people who would love to university. The aspect of that is acting as a conduit for students and providing spaces where they can share their opinions, their concerns as it relates to issues such as that possibility. And we want to start organizing monthly possibility specific meetings. Students can come to me with any issues they have as it relates to financial stability surrounding the university. We can collate those issues on a monthly basis and to get sharing active planning on that and take to uh, those who would be responsible for allocating funds. In terms of what I face as well, I think it's important that we go to members accommodation services, specifically the hotel. So one example I would think is maybe looking at commercial fencing in the summer. So with this, where they have fencing accommodation students and using them on our campus, summer business to subsidize their students during the school year so that we can have legitimate rent freeze and maybe have more money to help students out on it.
Skinny dreams, suspected to others.
Well, so you know how you have the training days where site is renewed and people come to the committees and they can look at an itinerary of what's on those days, what training they can have. I think putting it into not only putting it into those itineraries, but I think making them mandatory is incredibly useful. Not just GDP training in this scenario, I think there's several training parts of those days that I think should be mandatory and actually aren't, but GBV is one of them that I think would be crucial to put into that mandatory scale. And I'm not sure why it's not actually been created already, but I will definitely yes.
Okay. Well then, go back to you. So you got a best you allocate your training to society members. Much for that. What types of training would you like to provide? And what is the expected outcome of the training?
So I think, quality, just quality, you want to find training that is relevant to the functioning of society, to making students more how to set up societies, how to create, how to take an environment in societies which is inclusive for everyone.
Again, I'll come back to center student voice in this conversation. Because again, it comes back to organizing in person. Students can help you. Cyclers, whether it's just a matter of when people get together and speak and form kind of like compendium of student advice, student guidance from students who are societies. When it comes to the aspects of societies such as organizing setups, continuing to carry out society's own system, or potentially, go into elections and whatnot. I think just having opportunity for everything to look at is one place, kind of go through that, organize it so that we have so that students can directly look at it, our students, and those students, state.
Have a look at finances. So in your manifesto, you mentioned wanting to prevent further rent increases. Considering the university has continuously raised rent over the last 5 years, how do you intend to prevent this?
I think the first, line attack basically would be rounding up students as they are the ones that are directly affected by these rent increases. Bringing it to the attention of students that this doesn't have to be the case. You do not have to live in future conditions that are constantly getting worse while your rent is increasing. Bringing it to the attention of students saying you are capable of causing change. Students that can bring change about. Letting students know that if they rally together, they can demand changes from university in the case of accommodation grant, I think would be the first line of attack in that case.
Right, so in your manifesto, you mentioned cost security staff and the impact using the staff with student safety. So considering the university is unlikely to change its position on staffing levels currently, how do you plan to improve the security on campus?
Well, I think not changing this staffing level would be a fundamental mistake for the university. When I applied for this university and all the marketing of the university, it's marketed as a state campus, and that there's a state dynamic that when you want help, need help, it'll be there for you. So what I want to do is persuade the university, build a relationship with management, and make argue police services to be restored. Because if they're not, then we don't have a state campus. And yes, and our rooms to work at. So university pay, senior level pay is sky high because it's the highest paid in Scotland. And I think we can take some of that money and put it elsewhere. That again is if university has the conviction to do it, we look at students and build the future of care for students.
Now move into audience questions. Okay. So three general questions to all of you and specific questions for themselves. So would you rather specifically to you first or do you want to choose? Yeah.
Amazing.
Gender or say it wasn't candidate. So when you have students get the highest level of university for while keeping your responsibilities as trustees in mind.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Crazy for that one as well. Okay, let's shoot this the next one. I should have played this other one. Okay. So, how would you show support and spread events beyond where you genocide and shoot them?
In like, it comes from between how I feel like it comes from advocating for it's a tough question.
So,
I feel like we need to make sure we aren't silencing anybody from looking and sharing information as it relates to the conflict, the genocide that's occurring in Gaza. I think is important that people don't feel afraid to speak up, that they don't feel like there's structural barriers to them sharing their opinions and on the issue. I think sometimes there can be a bit of a slang where people might think twice about saying something because exactly so allow things to get to the point they have. If there's such goals to take place in the first place, is people being afraid to speak out. So I think um, we need to demand and to create an inclusive space where people feel like they can speak on it, and to add or to demand that people get money to the university, people questions where people with financial agency and speak, not only speak out, instead of their money for this. So and so in global societies, those societies do a lot of work on this. So that global justice, the Greens justice with you as well. I think we should really help amplify those voices of the societies. Societies are a word of student life. So I really want to make sure that those societies are champions their heard. Just the campaigns, just to amplify the voices more.
Just to repeat the question, just so I can understand it.
So it says, just
Like Tom said, a lot of societies are already trying to make their voices heard on this issue, and I don't think it's quite right. Societies are basically screaming if they are not being listened to by the university, they're not being listened to by staff. The university needs to directly say that they are hearing this and they need to collaborate on this and say, yes, this is absolutely an atrocity. It needs to be talked about. It absolutely needs to be talked about. Societies, control fundraisers, they continue speaking on it, but that's nothing about the university's support. And the university needs to get behind this and show that they understand what this is and that they are listening to their students and what they want.
right. So the previous question has been clarified. So it's essentially, how would you plan to rep students on university? So how would you go about doing that while ensuring responsibilities?
First of all, I think to know what students are thinking for one for needs to listen to the students. So giving students an opportunity to discuss this with as happens first. Maybe, through Instagram, through email, let students know that you can communicate with us through any kind of media, television concerns, so we can then talk about this and battle for this in court, because that's our jobs. It's our job to take what they say and bring it to these places in court. So, first of all, having students come to us is the key to that before we can actually fully fight with them.
So yeah, I think student consultation is really important. I think the union really struggles with communication sometimes and gathering this information here to voices. So I want to really make sure that we're being active in the listening to students. But also, anyone on the union staff that are there will know that I speak my mind, particularly around communication. When they talk about it, I want them know that I don't like what's going on. So the university which you guys are on, a lot of issues. I would love to say that to them because they need to hear that. And yeah, I'm gonna tell them sure. Yeah, I think student participation is important part and probably manage your those meetings in terms of cost of living, terms of really and application and put in stuff. One has to be as represented to high possible. So I'm committing with my own, opinions. I'm committing with the students, with experiences at this university. So yeah, I want to have like meetings in person at least, and then also have all my avenues of communication open. So the students can communicate, they can access, an open, living talk, yeah, with your minds issues what solutions do we want to bring to the table? And say student voices got lost a lot of the times, but because we tend to feel the issues before we even know they occur. And I think because we're good at reaching out as a communication between students, people are stuff, we have these communications with people who mind students. I don't know. Large scale, we also need to be proactive And reaching out to the staff members to the very top of the money and saying, why is it that you're afraid to come speak to students? It's just like, well, the job you're doing here. And I think we should have those staff members from your state guardians, associates before you're allocating funding in. Instead, it should be means communicating students issues to these people. It should be students feeling like they have a place here to communicate that directly to them in person.
So the last general question we will is about sustainability. So, how are you going to encourage active travel within the city? Was that the option?
So I know things have improved over recent years. There's obviously better bike paths than when I first started university. I was more like bike options, for instance. But I think really communication is the key at home with this. Getting people will know that there are recycle bike options to get an affordable bike on campus to ensure that that people know that these are options that you can take. I think also signposts is clearly the like the paths that are available and making sure that students know that they're there. Because sometimes when I speak to students, I I hear from them, oh, I don't really know about seven paths, and I don't really know that what's around. So yeah, I think just starting out clearly what is here, we can move along. Yeah, I think definitely making students more aware of sources that are in such as recycled. I think also having living on campus and taking you the kind of like uni link is always on time, but it's every 15 minutes. Getting meeting throughout for the back is about 15 minutes. Start doing more to maybe have services that in worst just like fairly close past the next morning. Sometimes we don't have expecting to get the 30 bus and it's not very much 3 buses instead of 5. So it is trying to keep the assistance. So I also think for just students under the age of 20, over the age of 22 who are having tend to have to pay for it's got to be tough as students get to you know that to fund local cities, right? Probably ways to quick so funny maybe finding really reviews that I think would be my ways of ourselves as we eventually that forward to us and we can help us as they're traveling. So
For improving sustainability travel on campus, first of all, I would say the parking spaces we currently have on campus, I don't think those are enough, specifically in the case of parent students. I could be wrong in this regard, but I don't think I've ever actually seen a parent student parking space for people with children, for people with buggies. I've seen disabled spots, I've seen regular spots, I've not seen anything made for parents. Personally, I don't think that's quite acceptable considering we have a nursery on campus. People need to get out, parents need to get out their children. Another thing is the pathways that we have between the accommodation buildings towards the like cultural stuff. From my personal experience living in these, during the winter when it was frosted over or it was snowing, the gritting of those paths was absolutely abhorrent. It was easier for me to slide down from Ash to get to class in the gym than it was to walk. And I basically had to mountain crawl back up. I think ensuring that those are properly gritted, not only for them to walk, but also for the safety of those students, because those are dangerous. I think that should be a priority that you need to focus on.
From the top of student parents, I will stay on you for the question just for you. So somebody had asked, specific Vanessa, how will you implement the changing station?
I believe the most cost effective and easiest way to get this to happen is the disabled toilets that we have on campus. They have plenty of room to get a baby changing station installed at the price. I found university is 60 quid. That's not expensive. It doesn't take a genius to install. It's not going to damage the wall. It's something simple that you can put into the bathroom. It takes maybe 15 minutes. You don't have to hire specialists to do it. I don't understand why these haven't been put in already when there's such a necessity for children.
Thank you very much. So since saying that the grammar last year on question you all, that has another one. It's really good. So last one. So how do you plan to make minority students feel seen on campus?
I think part of it is open making students more aware of communication skills or making sure how they feel. They might even start feeling nervousness for especially making minority versus sort of in what ways. So I want to open and digital avenues of communication, in-person avenues of communication where students can we can have a safe, this inclusive atmosphere where students hopefully can feel comfortable enough to share any concerns, any constructive criticism they have about the structure of the university and how that's impacting them because of their minority status. And I guess it really does come around in slam to making my work as accessible to students as possible at the time and being able to hear out all of their issues, whether it relates to being heard financially, socially, and anything possible. And then again, working with that information collaboratively to form some sort of coherent action plan to actively make their experience better.
So arts and culture are very big part of this university. As much as we're seeing lots of arts and culture, particularly from international minority students. I think we can have more events and more opportunities for the students to show off what amazing aspects of the cultures they have. I think making sure that the union and university are as open as possible, uh, not just showing what we have already, but making sure that um, things that we have considered already, things that people don't have on work to be in university, I'm sure probably. So often we are an echo chamber of people in the union and our union. I think we should draw people in, sure that university voices are heard.
Few ways that can help minorities and one of them, for example, is take, for example, the African and Caribbean Society. I know they sometimes plan events, especially for Black History Month and such. And the union will offer, help and advice for events doing, but I don't think it's enough. I don't think in that example that a society should have to be the boss of these events being run. The union is a collective that should be doing this themselves, not relying on societies to help minority voices be heard. The union should be taking an active step to make sure the voices are being heard and not relying on other people to do it. On top of that, for example, Black History Month, we should be doing more. We should be doing more events, more publicly statements, more for such Instagram posts showing that these minorities are safe and loved and welcome on our campus. They need to know that their voices are being heard, that they are a cherished part of our community here to make them feel more safe and more capable of talking. Because a lot of times minority voices get shushed, and sometimes minorities don't feel safe talking and sharing their opinions. We need to show them that that's not a thing here. They are completely welcome to share their thoughts and opinions.
Thank you very much, everyone, for that. Now, one of the things before we end is, of course, Isadora's statement. I think that she said to her colleagues for not being able to be here, but she had a previous commitment, so she sent a long statement for me to read to you, so everybody knows like a bit about her and what she stands for. And so, okay, everyone, I'm Isadora, an analyst, and I'm running from vacancies. Before I start explaining who I am, why I'm running this role, and my ideas, I first like to apologize apologise for not being present today. And at the same time, for listening, with all I tried, I could not rearrange the times. Now, for those who don't know me, I'm an international student from Brazil. I came to Stirling in 2021 to do my undergrad, which I completed last year in international politics. If any of you are interested in knowing what my dissertation was around, it was focused on Indigenous rights, deforestation, and the Brazilian government failures to protect Indigenous rights in the rainforest. I'm currently doing a master's degree in public policy, which is something I'm really passionate about. For the politics students in the room, while some of you may hate my policy papers / policy briefs, those are my bread and butter throughout my undergrad. Being an international student from a very different culture meant that in my first year, I was faced with a big challenge of finding my community here. I felt extremely lost and isolated, which made things very difficult for me as a student. I honestly had no idea societies were opening in Stirling, and the sports clubs felt quite intimidating to join, but due to COVID, I had arrived mid-semester, and all the groups had already been formed. It's clear that my first year was not prepared in Stirling, however, I would say that I'm quite an ambitious individual, who wants to set my head into something I don't really want easily. Which meant that in my second year, I decided I needed to make a bigger effort to get out of my comfort zone, leading to joining a sports club and attending society events, mostly international society and Rotary American. That all built a strong base for me to set my student career in Stirling, as I had friends from all different groups. I started to get more involved in the campus life during my third and fourth year, as well as with progresses, and I made me realize that while communication in different groups is very separated, even when working on the same issues or causes. There are plenty of reasons why I'm running for this role, as well as I truly believe I can make a difference to collective by fighting for the right causes. I've seen the work Ellie's done in the past year, and she's a great role model. If Ellie, if you're in the room, I swear I'm not being honest with you, but I promise, sorry for the bingo books. She truly fights for all matters for the students and the local community, and I would love to keep on running her. It will also provide during the November campaign, I saw how hard societies work. And through that, I was able to understand more about the societies and how much time and effort and resources you guys put into the causes that matter. Causes that affect us as students, local community, and global causes. Most of the time, these efforts are undermined or simply do not get the spotlight that they deserve. So, collectively, I want to make sure you guys are seen, heard, and supported. Rolling into my last work with DP Comms, my priorities are very simple. You, the student community, and my main focuses are improving student well-being and access to support, including mental health support and health on harm campaign, building stronger community connections across campus, promoting equality and visibility for all groups, addressing the cost of living challenges, advocating for more reliable transport and minimising the gap between societies and sports clubs so that we can both support each other more intentionally because there is much benefit from collaborating. She says she spoke to plenty of societies this week and she understands that each society is dealing with different issues including funding, visibility, or members. And she believes that she can give the society the spotlight and space that everyone deserves to thrive. She says, if you guys have any questions, please do not be scared to reach out. I'm a very approachable person and I can be contacted through my campaign or personal Instagram. And if you find her hanging around YouTube, don't be scared to come to her. She says, thank you for listening. I'm sorry that was a bit too long. And she also thanks me for reading it. So that is the story, everybody. So that is everybody. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks. So there's a lot of people in this room that deserve thanks. So first of all, I will start with our candidates. We can't do any of this without you. You are the one that asked all the questions. So thank you so much, all of you, for having the bravery and courage to come up here and talk about your manifestos and the things that you care about. So big round of applause to the candidates, please. My tips and from Brig to our amazing presenters, to Adam over there with the lights and with helping with questions, to Rory and Tom helping with microphones and any sort of tech problems we might have, and then a big special thanks to Adrian for setting up the entire live stream single-handedly and managing it throughout. So big round of applause for all of those people. in, for supporting us and doing this Hustings, making sure that we have bedroom and a place to do this. We couldn't have done it without you either. So thank you so much to everyone who's involved in this, and also very importantly to everybody who came. Thank you.